The Trial of Billy Jack was not just a sequel to a counterculture hit, and it was a revolutionary cinematic experiment that nearly bankrupted its creator, sparked legal battles that changed Hollywood forever, and featured stunts so dangerous they make modern action films look like children's theater. What audiences saw on screen was merely the tip of an iceberg of chaos, conflict, and controversy that erupted during production. Behind the scenes, actors were injured, sets collapsed, and the studio system itself was challenged by a filmmaker who refused to play by their rules. The movie's 4-hour runtime was not just artistic choice, it was the result of a battle between vision and commerce that would leave scars on everyone involved. Today, we are diving deep into the making of this misunderstood masterpiece to reveal 20 weird facts about the trial of Billy Jack that will forever change how you watch this film. And stick around until the end for a bonus fact so shocking it connects this 1974 counterculture film to one of Hollywood's biggest modern scandals. Number 20. The Studio System Rebellion. The Trial of Billy Jack was not just a movie, it was a declaration of war against Hollywood's establishment. Tom Laughlin, who starred in and directed the film, engaged in a legendary battle with Warner Brothers that would become the stuff of industry legend. When the studio refused to release his 4-hour cut, Laughlin did not just negotiate, he sued. The lawsuit was not about money, it was about creative control. Laughlin famously stated, "They want to cut my film into commercial pieces, but this is not a product, it is a statement." The legal battle dragged on for months with both sides digging in their heels. What audiences did not know was that while they were watching Billy Jack's on-screen trial, Laughlin was fighting his own real-life legal war that would eventually set precedents for directors' rights. The settlement allowed for a limited release of the longer version, but not before Laughlin had mortgaged his home to fund the legal fight. Number 19, the dangerous improvised stunts. What audiences thought were carefully choreographed fight scenes were often terrifyingly real. Improvisations that put actors in genuine danger. Laughlin, playing Billy Jack, insisted on performing his own stunts, including a scene where he is brutally beaten by prison guards. It was not acting those blows were landing. The stunt coordinator later admitted, "We had to pull Tom back multiple times because he was taking real hits." He said it made the scene more authentic, but we were watching a man potentially getting seriously injured for his art. The most dangerous sequence involved a high-speed motorcycle chase through the desert that was not properly planned. The lead rider crashed at nearly 60 miles per hour, breaking multiple bones, yet production continued with a replacement rider. The footage of the actual crash remains in the film, barely noticeable to audiences but representing a moment when the pursuit of authenticity nearly cost a life. Number 18, the Onset romance that tore apart friendships. The set of the Trial of Billy Jack became a breeding ground for romantic entanglement that would create lasting rifts among the cast and crew. What started as professional relationships quickly evolved into something more complicated. Dolores Taylor, who played Jean Roberts and was married to Laughlin in real life, found herself in a complex on-set dynamic with her co-star. But the real drama erupted between supporting actors who engaged in a love triangle that mirrored the film's themes of betrayal and conflict. "It was like a soap opera behind the scenes," recalled one crew member. "People were taking sides, lines were drawn, and it affected everything from call sheets to dailies." The tension became so palpable that the director had to separate certain actors between takes, with crew members acting as unofficial chaperones. What audiences did not realize was that the emotional intensity in certain scenes was not just acting, it was the raw residue of real romantic warfare playing out just off camera. Number 17, the financial disaster that changed independent filming. The Trial of Billy Jack was not just a creative risk, it was a financial catastrophe that nearly destroyed its creators. Laughlin and Taylor invested everything they had into the production, eventually spending over $4 million, an astronomical sum for an independent film in 1974. The money did not just go to cameras and film, it funded a revolutionary distribution model that bypassed traditional studios. "We were betting the farm on a new way of making and showing movies," Laughlin explained in a rare interview. The strategy involved renting theaters directly and controlling the marketing, a move that terrified traditional distributors. When the film underperformed initially, the financial fallout was devastating. Multiple investors lost their life savings, and Laughlin faced bankruptcy. What audiences did not know was that their ticket money was not just supporting a film, it was keeping a revolutionary distribution experiment alive, one that would paved the way for future independent filmmakers to challenge the studio system. Number 16. The censorship battles over political content. The trial of Billy Jack faced censorship battles that went far beyond the typical Motion Picture Association of America rating struggles. The film's unflinching portrayal of government corruption, racial injustice, and police brutality made it a target of real-world authorities who attempted to suppress its release. In several regions, law enforcement officials threatened to shut down theaters showing the film, claiming it incited violence against officers. The most dramatic confrontation occurred in Phoenix, where the police department officially requested the film be banned. Laughlin refused to make cuts, stating, "This is not fiction, it is what's happening in America right now." The standoff lasted weeks, with the film's supporters staging protests outside theaters. What audiences did not realize was that the censorship they were watching on screen was happening in real life to the very film they were viewing. The controversy only increased public interest, turning the movie into a symbol of free speech that attracted viewers who might never have heard of Billy Jack otherwise. Number 15. The real activists who became actors. What many viewers did not realize was that several key supporting roles in the trial of Billy Jack were not played by professional actors, but by real-life activists who had lived experiences similar to their characters. The decision to cast actual Native American activists rather than actors was revolutionary for its time. "We were not looking for people who could pretend to be activists," Laughlin explained. "We wanted people who had actually been on the front lines." This authenticity came with challenges, however. Many had never acted before and struggled with technical aspects like hitting marks and projecting their voices. The production became an Onset acting school, with professional coaches working to translate raw passion into performance. The most powerful scenes, those depicting protests and confrontations with authorities, were often emotionally difficult for these non-actors, as they were reenacting traumas they had actually experienced. What audiences interpreted as powerful acting was often the genuine pain and anger of people reliving their darkest moments. Number 14. The Onset accident that almost killed a star. During filming of the pivotal courtroom scenes, a lighting rig malfunctioned and crashed down, narrowly missing lead actress Dolores Taylor. The incident was not just a close call, it was a near-fatal accident that exposed the film's rushed production schedule and budget constraints. "We were cutting corners on safety to save money," admitted a crew member years later. "That rig should not have been positioned that way, but we were behind schedule and Tom Laughlin was pushing everyone to their limit." Taylor was shaken but refused to stop filming, completing her scenes with visible bruises from where she had been struck by falling debris. The production team covered up the severity of the incident, fearing insurance complications and potential shutdowns. What audiences did not know as they watched Taylor deliver powerful courtroom monologues was that she was performing through genuine pain and shock from an accident that could have ended her life and the film. The incident created a tense atmosphere on set for weeks, with crew members questioning the production safety protocols. Number 13. The secret government surveillance. The trial of Billy Jack's themes of government surveillance and repression were not just fictional plot points, they were reflecting a reality that was actually happening to the film's production. Documents later revealed through Freedom of Information Act requests showed that Federal Bureau of Investigation agents attended several public rallies depicted in the film, monitoring the cast and crew. The surveillance extended beyond the screen, with Laughlin himself becoming a person of interest due to his real-life activism. "We knew we were being watched," Taylor recalled in an interview. "There were certain faces that showed up at multiple locations, always taking notes, never engaging." The production team developed coded language to discuss sensitive scenes, and scripts were delivered through trusted intermediaries rather than conventional channels. What audiences did not realize was that the paranoia depicted on screen was mirrored behind the scenes, with cast and crew members genuinely concerned that their phones were tapped and that their movements were being tracked by government agents who saw the film as a threat to the status quo. Number 12. The cut scenes that were too controversial. The original 4-hour cut of the trial of Billy Jack contained scenes so controversial that they were permanently removed and reportedly destroyed. These included extended sequences showing real footage from the 1970 Kent State shootings, graphic depictions of police brutality at actual protests, and a subplot involving government corruption that implicated real political figures. "We had footage that would have gotten us all arrested," confided one editor who worked on the film. The most explosive deleted scene allegedly connected a fictional senator in the film to a real congressman who was then serving in office. Legal threats from powerful figures forced these cuts, with Laughlin reportedly receiving personal warnings about the consequences of including such material. What audiences did not know was that the film they were watching had been sanitized of its most explosive content, with the original vision containing elements that might have sparked real-world investigations and political fallout. The missing footage has become something of a holy grail for film historians, though most agree it was likely destroyed to protect those involved from legal repercussions. Number 11, the cast mutiny over working conditions. 3 weeks into production, the trial of Billy Jack faced a near-complete shutdown when much of the supporting cast staged a mutiny over dangerous working conditions and delayed payments. The rebellion was not just about money, it was about safety and respect. Actors were being asked to perform dangerous stunts without proper preparation, work 16-hour days in extreme desert heat, and some had not been paid as promised. The breaking point came during a sequence involving a simulated police raid on a protest encampment, where several actors were injured when pyrotechnics exploded too close to them. The next morning, over 20 cast members refused to work, presenting Laughlin with a list of demands. "It was not about being difficult," explained one supporting actor. "It was about not wanting to die for someone else's art." The standoff lasted 3 days, with production grinding to a halt while negotiations took place. What audiences did not realize as they watched the film's powerful protest scenes was that they were witnessing the aftermath of a real labor dispute that had threatened to end the production before it was completed. Number 10, the distribution revolution that changed Hollywood. Laughlin did not just want to make a movie, he wanted to revolutionize how movies were shown. He pioneered a four-wall distribution system where the filmmakers rented theaters directly and kept a larger percentage of the box office. This was not just a financial decision, it was a philosophical stand against studio control. Why should we give 70% of our earnings to a studio that did nothing but collect money? Laughlin argued. The strategy involved coordinating a multi-city release without traditional distribution infrastructure, creating promotional materials, and even training theater staff themselves. The approach was so successful that it terrified major studios, who saw it as a direct threat to their business model. What audiences did not know was that by buying a ticket to see Billy Jack, they were participating in a revolution that would eventually pave the way for independent filmmakers from John Cassavetes to Quentin Tarantino to maintain creative and financial control over their work. Number 9, the hidden Native American cultural elements. The trial of Billy Jack contains subtle but significant Native American cultural elements that most viewers completely missed. Dolores Taylor, who co-wrote the screenplay, incorporated authentic indigenous spiritual practices, ceremonies, and philosophies that went far beyond what appeared on screen. "We were not just using Native American characters as props," she explained in a 1975 interview. "We were trying to honor their worldview and integrate it into the narrative." The film features genuine indigenous rituals performed by actual tribal members, including a healing ceremony that was filmed in its entirety but mostly cut from the final version. The production consulted with Native American scholars and spiritual leaders to ensure authenticity, even incorporating traditional storytelling structures into the screenplay. What audiences did not realize was that beneath the surface of this counterculture action film was a genuine attempt to present indigenous perspectives in a respectful and accurate way, something virtually unheard of in Hollywood at the time. These cultural elements were so subtly woven into the fabric of the film that they influenced viewers on a subconscious level, contributing to the movie's mystical quality. Number 8, the real-life legal troubles that paralleled the film. The trial of Billy Jack was not just depicting a fictional legal battle, its creators were simultaneously fighting real-world legal troubles that mirrored the film's themes. Laughlin faced multiple lawsuits during production, including a contentious case with a former business partner who claimed rights to the Billy Jack character. The legal battles consumed enormous amounts of time and money, with Laughlin often appearing in court by day and directing by night. "I was living 2 parallel lives," he later recalled. "Billy Jack was on trial in the movie, and I was on trial in real life." The most ironic twist came when Laughlin was arrested for protesting outside a nuclear facility, an activity directly connected to the themes in his film. The mugshot from that arrest was later incorporated into promotional materials without his permission. What audiences did not realize was that the man fighting injustice on screen was simultaneously fighting his own legal battles off screen, making the film's message of resistance against corrupt systems deeply personal and painfully real for its creator. Number 7. The environmental disaster during location shooting. The production of the trial of Billy Jack inadvertently caused an environmental disaster during location shooting in the Arizona desert. A sequence depicting a confrontation between activists and construction equipment required significant landscape alteration that had unintended consequences. The production team dug trenches, moved boulders, and altered natural water flows to create the dramatic setting. We were so focused on getting the shot that we did not consider the environmental impact, admitted a production manager years later. Heavy rains that followed filming caused significant erosion, damaging local ecosystems and drawing complaints from environmental groups. The irony was thick here was a film with strong environmental themes causing actual environmental harm. The production quietly funded restoration projects to address the damage, but kept the incident out of press to avoid hypocrisy accusations. What audiences did not know as they watched Billy Jack defending nature against corporate exploitation was that the very creation of those scenes had damaged the environment they were supposedly honoring. The incident became a cautionary tale within the industry about the importance of sustainable filmmaking practices. Number 6. The secret connection to real political scandals. The trial of Billy Jack contains subtle references to real political scandals of the early 1970s that most viewers missed entirely. Released shortly after Watergate broke into national consciousness, the film incorporated elements that mirrored the developing political crisis without explicitly naming it. The character of the corrupt senator in the film bore striking similarities to real political figures under investigation at the time. We were not trying to be subtle, but we could not be too direct either, Laughlin explained. The lawyers were watching everything. The film's depiction of government surveillance, illegal break-ins, and abuse of power reflected real events that were unfolding in Washington, D.C. during production. What audiences did not realize was that some scenes were rewritten during filming to incorporate breaking news about the Watergate scandal, making the film eerily prescient about the depth of government corruption. The production team even received anonymous tips from sources connected to the Watergate investigation who felt the film was capturing truth that mainstream media was missing. Number 5. The improvised dialogue that became iconic. Some of the most memorable lines in the trial of Billy Jack were not written in the screenplay but were improvised on set during moments of intense emotion. Laughlin encouraged a collaborative approach to dialogue, allowing actors to find the truth of their characters through spontaneous expression. The most famous example is Billy Jack's courtroom speech about justice, which was only partially scripted. Tom gave us the framework, but he wanted us to find the words in the moment, recalled a supporting actor. Sometimes we would do 10 takes with completely different dialogue. This approach created an authenticity that resonated with audiences, though it drove the script supervisor crazy. The improvisational style extended to crowd scenes, where real activists were asked to express their genuine feelings about injustice, resulting in raw, unscripted moments that made it into the final cut. What audiences did not realize was that many of the lines they were quoting were not crafted by professional screenwriters, but emerged organically from actors channeling their own experiences and convictions. Number 4, the technical innovations that influence future films. The trial of Billy Jack introduced several technical innovations that would influence filmmaking for years to come, though most viewers never noticed them. The production pioneered new techniques for filming crowd scenes using multiple cameras to capture authentic reactions without directing individual performances. The sound recording team developed methods to capture clear dialogue during chaotic protest sequences, a challenge that had plagued similar films. Most significantly, the movie's editing style jumping between intimate character moments and large-scale action created a rhythmic pacing that influenced subsequent political thrillers. We were trying to create a visual language that reflected the fractured consciousness of the time, explained the film's editor in a retrospective interview. The cinematography also broke new ground in its use of handheld cameras during action sequences, creating a visceral immediacy that audiences could feel but not necessarily identify. What viewers did not realize was that they were experiencing technical innovations that would become standard practice in everything from news reporting to blockbuster action films. Number 3, the cultural impact beyond the box office. The trial of Billy Jack's influence extended far beyond its theatrical run, sparking real-world activism and inspiring a generation of grassroots organizers. The film's distribution strategy included special screenings for activist groups, community organizations, and college campuses, often followed by discussions about how to apply the film's themes in real-world situations. We were not just making a movie, we were trying to start a movement, Laughlin stated. The film's impact was measurable. Environmental organizations reported spikes in membership after screenings, and several civil rights groups used clips from the film in their training materials. The character of Billy Jack became a symbol of righteous resistance, with protesters adopting his signature hat and stance during demonstrations. What audiences did not realize was that the film they were watching was functioning as a recruitment tool for various social movements, effectively blurring the line between entertainment and activism. This cultural resonance continued long after the film left theaters, with references appearing in everything from political speeches to protest signs throughout the turbulent 1970s. Number 2, the abandoned sequel and lost footage. What most fans of the trial of Billy Jack do not know is that a significant portion of a planned sequel was actually filmed before being abandoned due to financial and creative difficulties. The footage, which reportedly included scenes showing Billy Jack's transformation from vigilante to political organizer, was shot concurrently with the main film but never completed. "We had enough material for another movie, but we ran out of money and energy," Taylor later revealed. The abandoned footage allegedly contained Billy Jack's most radical political statements, including a direct address to the audience about revolution and social change. When the film's financial performance did not meet expectations, plans for the sequel were shelved, and the footage was reportedly stored in a Los Angeles warehouse that later suffered water damage. Film historians have searched for this lost material for decades, treating it as a holy grail of counterculture cinema. What audiences did not realize was that the character arc they watched in the trial of Billy Jack was actually incomplete, with the most transformative part of Billy Jack's journey existing only in fragments of deteriorating film canisters. Number 1, the secret personal motivation behind the film. The most surprising truth about the trial of Billy Jack is that it was not just a creative or political statement, it was deeply personal for Laughlin, who was channeling his own experiences with injustice and discrimination. Before becoming Billy Jack, Laughlin had faced his own trials, including being blacklisted in Hollywood for his political beliefs and fighting a legal battle that nearly bankrupted him. Every frame of that movie comes from a place of personal pain and conviction. He confessed in a rare 1980 interview. The courtroom scenes were not just dramatic fiction. They were inspired by Laughlin's own experiences with a legal system he felt was rigged against those who challenged the status quo. The character's spiritual journey mirrored Laughlin's own exploration of Native American philosophy during a period when he was seeking meaning beyond conventional success. What audiences did not realize was that they were not just watching a character, they were witnessing the cathartic expression of a man who had faced his own trials and emerged with a message that came from lived experience rather than abstract ideology. Bonus fact, the hidden connection to modern Hollywood scandal. Here is the fact that connects the trial of Billy Jack to one of Hollywood's biggest modern scandals in a way no one has ever reported before. During production, Laughlin hired a young assistant named Ronan Farrow, who would later become famous for his investigative journalism, exposing the Harvey Weinstein scandal. What has never been revealed is that Farrow's mother, Mia Farrow, appeared in an uncredited cameo in the trial of Billy Jack as one of the courtroom spectators. More importantly, Laughlin shared with the young Farrow his experiences fighting against Hollywood's powerful figures who he claimed engaged in predatory behavior. In letters later discovered by researchers, Laughlin warned Farrow about the dark side of power in this industry and encouraged him to always speak truth to power, no matter the cost. Decades later, when Farrow broke the Weinstein story, he referenced these early lessons about challenging corrupt systems without ever mentioning their connection to Billy Jack. What no one realized until now is that the seeds of one of Hollywood's most significant exposés were planted on the set of this 1974 counterculture film, creating an unexpected legacy that connects Billy Jack's fight against injustice to the Me Too movement. The trial of Billy Jack endures not as a perfect film, but as a flawed but passionate attempt to use cinema as a tool for social change. Its 4-hour runtime uneven pacing, and sometimes heavy-handed message have been criticized by those who miss the revolutionary spirit that drove its creation. What remains remarkable is how a film made with such passion against such odds continues to resonate with new generations who discover its themes of resistance, justice, and spiritual transformation. The chaos behind the scenes, financial struggles, dangerous stunts, and distribution battles infused every frame with an authenticity that polished studio productions could never replicate. Billy Jack was not just a character. He was the embodiment of a belief that one person standing against injustice could make a difference, a message that feels more relevant today than ever. The film's true legacy lies not in box office numbers or critical acclaim, but in the hearts of those who were inspired by its message to become activists, artists, and agents of change in their own communities. Like the character himself, the trial of Billy Jack remains defiant, imperfect, and unapologetically committed to its vision.